I'm Trek with 2Ks. Alrighty, hola, buenos noches, buenos dias, buenos tardes, GnGs. My name is Trek with 2Ks, and if you don't know, this is Trek with 2Ks Live, brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto. But I will add to that, I also have my own channel called Trek with 2Ks, and would appreciate the subscribe and share if you make it over that way. Also, do that here too. But I'm just saying, for those of you who might be on like, well, why would you be on Gem on the Crypto channel? Because this is where I've built most of the attention as far as the algos and the people are concerned. So that's why I'm over here. But yeah, so it is a Monday. We trying to make it through this weekend, which wasn't a bad weekend. Hung out with the coworkers and stuff. And well, shoot, I can't even say that. I feel like of the, let's say, last 45 days, I've heard a number of people, I'm not going to say had issue, but as far as mothers or grandmothers, health kind of takes a turn. Whether it is that somebody fell or somebody just got sick and the cough or cold or whatever lasted a little longer. I feel like over the last month and a half, I've been hearing a lot of those stories. So, I don't want to say shout outs, but like positive vibes out to the folks. And even if it ain't your mother or your grandmother, pop, dad, like whoever it is that's close to you, hopefully they making a turn for the better if they were under the weather or like things have been kind of going sideways for them in this last bit of time. And so all right, what are we gonna get into? So basic idea, if you don't know, what I do here is I go through Twitter, and this is like a no face channel now, and I bookmark the things that scratch my brain, and then I talk about it here. And if you are over on the YouTube side, we can get it to the live chat, and I will show your comments, I'll give you the shout outs and all that funness. And yeah, we go from there. Now I should, as the preface goes, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm literally just some guy on the internet who is giving himself this like self-proclaimed crypto unk status. And it doesn't mean I'm out here balling or I know a bunch of shit. It just means like I kind of been around this for a minute, and like I've seen a number of cycles and personalities and companies do things. And so yeah, that's what I got for you. Let's try to jump into it. I really should have been on this earlier, because when I tell y'all, I don't know what it is that keeps me in this like 9-10 window time wise, even though I really be like, yo, I should do this starting at 7. But things happen, I'm just lazy, and then we're here. I apologize, but I don't apologize. This is where we at right now. Oh, shout outs to our federal folks if you are somehow affected by this furlough. Because for those of you who know about the whole gang on my side of things, like, yeah, we still got to show up. For the other folks who are in other departments, areas, agencies, and if you got hit with the furlough, which I just found out that like a handful of people I know have literally been I'm gonna say furloughed since. Ooh, hold on one second. I really think I'm gonna end up moving my studio back upstairs. I don't know what's going on with my basement right now, but it's so warm. But anywho, um, yeah, like I know people who've basically been furloughed since like August, and life is lifing out here. Life is lifing between the economics, the family stuff, and just some of the craziness that we see. Like, yo, I was driving the other day. What was this, like Friday? Or it might have been Saturday. I don't remember where I was driving from. But um I seen this kid walking around with a Michael Myers mask. Or I'm gonna say kid because I'm assuming he was like a teenager or like maybe college age. And like the street that he was walking on is like a major street over here. It's one of those cross streets that you cut from like one of the major arteries that go into the city, and it cuts you all the way across to the other major artery, like major street. And I turn the corner on the right, and then I just look over to my left, and oh wow, like we early, like bro, it's not even in the evening. It's not like close to 7. This is like 1:32 in the afternoon. Sun is still up, okay? And he's just walking in his Michael Myers mask up this hill because the street has a hill on it. It's a steep ass incline at a certain point. I said, "Wow, man! Like, okay, this is where we at today. Got it." For those of you who enjoy the Halloween holiday I know some people who like literally that is their number one holiday. Um, and other people like myself, I I could care less. But yeah, people are out here already in they vibe for this holiday called Halloween. But nonetheless, let's jump into some of these stories. As you see how the thumbnail is, we're gonna start off with Jack. So I seen this the other day, and this is Jack responding to somebody else. And then it's crazy because then I also seen it like hit a number of other Twitter accounts, and it's just like, but is he really saying anything? Like, I remember I used to get into this all the time with like crypto blood, and in terms of use case, right? And talking about how okay, so we say that in crypto in general, or at least back in the day, how things was working out was, well, you can't really tell somebody like how they have to use the crypto, or in particular the Bitcoin. So it's like, are they using it for a store of value? Are they using it as a financial instrument in terms of a trading mechanism, medium? Are they using it as actually money in terms of being able to have purchasing power? And it was different communities. Some people crossed over. It was like a Venn diagram, right? Where you had like 3 or 4 circles and there was an overlapping part. Some people literally just stored. Some people were doing it on the trading side and doing the flipping that way. Some people, myself included, we was out here, all right, like I need to go buy this plane ticket. Okay, I need to go do something, buy this food. Okay, I need to, and that's how we were doing things back then. And so I see this and it's just like, I don't I would kind of argue for where we are today, this this I don't want to say era or phase, but I guess like path or phase would be more appropriate for where we are now. I think there's more people who are working or collecting Bitcoin in terms of it being a store of value for them versus, what me and other folks was doing back in like 2014, spending it. Okay. I remember the first Bitcoin spend on chain is 2 pizza pies that was like a couple hundred or something Bitcoin at the time. And it was only like what, 20 something dollars, I think, or like $12 or something like that in terms of USD. And now, oh, how much would that be worth, right? But I don't know, like it kind of took me back because like when I saw the post, I instantly thought of my back and forth with Crypto Blood. Shout outs to Crypto Blood, by the way. My guy out there in the Detroit. I definitely gotta make it back out there, man. Like I feel like I need to like start working. Not I feel like I have my thoughts about getting back on the road and actually like going back out and making it to different cities and states and countries. It's just for where I'm at with things right now, it isn't necessarily like clear enough on the path. But yeah, I be thinking about that now. It's like, yo, I need to get back on this road and like start getting out there and like catching up with the folks. And as well as just, meeting the newer wave of folks that are in the space now. But nonetheless, I seen the post and it made me think of my conversations with Crypto Blood. And then it's also one of those like, did obviously I can't speak for Jack. I can't say I read his mind. I think I've met him like maybe once, and I don't remember what the event was. Um, Usually the bigger personalities in the space, unless somebody actually directly introduces me to them, depending on who they are. I think the only person that I ever got like actually like wowed about, quote fanboyish about when I met them the first time was Andreas Antonopoulos. And I think I was in like Chile when I met him the first time. And funny dude, by the way, funny dude, like quick-witted funny. But the point of where I'm going with this, because I'm getting sidetracked and stuff, is like I'm not even gonna read the whole post thing as for who he's responding to, but like, are we getting back to that? Are we there yet? I don't know. I don't know because that's not what I feel like, or no, that's not what I think I'm observing for what is going on in the quote market right now. Excuse me. We don't have a bunch of vendors and platforms that accept cryptocurrencies. If anything, we have less platforms today than we did 8 years ago, definitely 10 years ago. Like there was a number of mom and pops. There's different places online. Newegg was doing stuff. I think Newegg is still doing stuff. I'm not 100% certain on that. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. But like it's a different wait, what is going on? Hold on. What am I? Oh, seriously? All right, something's going wrong. I don't know what it is right now. But anywho, yeah, like we're not in the same openness that we were back then now. So to say like, and this isn't me minimizing the segment of the population that is using Bitcoin as a currency in terms of money. And I have another post that this ties into that one, and I'll get to it in a couple. But yeah, that just like it scratched my brain, y'all. It scratched my brain, and so I was like, all right, let's bring this up. Like, so I throw that question out to the larger audience and those who eventually see this: is Bitcoin money in today's? And sorry, I'm typing this out in the chat right now, so that's why I'm saying this out loud like that. I'm gonna say error. Um, and yeah, we'll throw that out there like that. And so let's jump up to this next joint. All right, I seen this. I gotta bring this one down a little bit so y'all can see the whole thing. So what was this, like Saturday? Or it might have been Sunday. I was just like scrolling through Twitter, and like just looking at stuff, and I forgot how I got to this. I was like in the NFT, section of like the For You parts on Twitter, and I was like, yo, like it's not wild. It was X amount of expected, right? For the run up that we had during that NFT phase of the what's the monkey thing? I can't even remember the name of the damn thing right now. But like, and it was a number of those NFTs that were like, oh, when I bought this, it was like 5,000, or like at one point it was valued on OpenSea as like 50 million, or 120,000, and then now today it's only the floor price on it is 5K or 1,000, or in case of this 10K. Like, I don't know, like, to a certain extent, this is arguably kind of expected, because arguably, depending on who you talk to and what part of the space you were moving around, the NFT market was I'm gonna say this word, and some of y'all might jump at me, but if you was in certain conversations and moving around in certain parts of the space, it was a level of money laundering going on. Just saying. And so to see where it is now, it's just like, well, for the diehard folks, you like your digital art. You think that, hey, there might be an upswing back on it. And then like, it's even the same thing with the coins and the tokens, right? Like, I was saying that the other day, like I went and looked at one of my Ethereum wallet joints, and it was like, yo, like, who remembers Sandcoin? You know what I'm saying? Like, who remembers what's the British dude? I can't remember his name. It's a British dude. And I cannot remember, it was PPN or PPL. Like, there was so many things, and this is pre-NFT years I'm talking about. By the time we got into NFTs, we like and all right, let me get the thoughts out of what is going on in my brain right now. There was a time when the openness of the technology to build blockchains and be able to make a financial medium connected to it, aka a coin or a token or an NFT. Well, let's say this is before the NFT, so this is like coins and tokens, right? The fact that it was so open as an open source thing, hey, if you want to do this different from version A, you make version B, do what you do, fork it, or just soft fork it, hard fork it, do what you do. And it's I'm not even gonna say ironic, but it just made me think of Spider-Man and the whole like Uncle Ben to Peter Parker. With great power comes responsibility. So what happened? We put out this technology that allowed people to make this mechanism as a monetary medium, and then folks just ran wild with it. The folks who were altruists, the folks who were idealists, the folks who was just straight up to no goddamn good. I'm gonna be out here getting folks. And here we are all these years later, and we see that when we allowed people to just, hey, do what you do, build it how you want to build it, get your community, it was a free for all. And then it went to where, like, okay, like, what is it? 20, let's say 13, we're like a couple hundred coins and tokens. 2016, we're up to like a couple thousand, maybe 2,000. We get around, what is that, 2018, We go through the crypto winter. A number of coins, get destroyed off of just like, all right, like the community left because I wasn't getting a bag. We get into the 2020 period, 2021, a number of coins get stomped out because of SEC action of policing versus providing X amount of clear guidance, right? But yet, depending on what you was paying attention to and where you were moving around in the space, Binance has one of the most highest amounts of coins on its blockchain. And now Solana is out there being competitive with Binance on that, right? Ethereum, the whole EVM thing, like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on in there, but quote, Ethereum had its quote limitations for some people, hence why you get to the Solanas, right? And like you look at it now and it's just like, okay, so NFTs, and then like who remembers that phase, that part we went through of where like folks were minting the NFT on Ethereum and then they would go to other chains and mint the same visual NFT. So you had doubles and triples out there. It was just on different chains. So like Wax, you know what? That's funny. And now that I think of that, I actually got to go check my Wax account. I haven't looked at that joint in years. When I tell you years, but look at the what's going on with it now, as far as, like I said, the NFT space followed the token space, which, oh wow, it's a whole different thing now. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I did not know that. All right. But anywho, what just, oh, okay. So and I've said this and I'm gonna keep saying this, because of what we did here in the States. And when I say we, I mean the administration. Because of what the administration did here in the States, stable coins are like, we thought stable coin stuff was bad during like the lunar the lunar situation. Nah, that's nothing. Because even then, like, what, there was maybe 50, maybe I'm being real generous, how many stable coins there were back in like the 20, let's say 17 to 21 period. Maybe 50, super generous in saying 100, but I don't think we even passed 25 of them as far as like major market holders who was being used in South Korea, as well as that was, granted, South Korea is moving on a different thing because of how their legal structure was working. But like in the who was holding bigger space in the markets? What we had back then is going to be nothing. Oh, sorry. What we're going to have come up now is going to be nothing compared to back then. Why? Because, at least for how I'm looking at this, the rub is in. Like, the rub is in from this administration, and it's being proliferated throughout the globe because of, arguably, the the players within this new movement around stablecoins. And when I say that, I mean that as in, the administration is directly talking with Tether. Tether is the larger global player compared to USDC, which is Circle. And so the other part that no one seems to be addressing is that there's nothing, at least for how I understand it, that says non-banking entities can't issue a stable coin. Now, granted, we have PayPal, which is another story that I'm gonna jump into in that situation, because that just blew my mind when I first heard about it. But I'll get to that in a minute. But where am I going with this? The short of it is, we're gonna see how um stable coins are going to go through the same growth and expansion as coins, tokens, NFTs. The only difference, not the only difference, it'll be a couple of differences, but the first things that come off to my mind is the difference within this particular thing is that there is like official government backing and encouragement. I really mean more to say encouragement, because there is um a act that has rules and regulations that will be disseminated out through the varying departments such as the SEC, FinCEN, CFTF. What's the other one that I can't think of right now? But the stable coins are going to have the same level of like scaling proliferation. There's going to be bad actors in it. There's going to be people who, quote, have good intentions, but things will get hijacked. And some things will just from the get-go not be made to be sustainable, if that makes sense. Like it might work for the first year, the first 15 months, 18 months, you might make it up to 24 months. But it eventually will run its course. And I've talked about it before, the number of issues that are going to run around it. So as I say, like, I'm not telling you what to do with your USD or whatever sovereign fiat you got. Just make sure you do your due diligence. Just make sure you do your due diligence, because it's going to be crazy out here. And folks are going to be mad when they get left holding the bag. And it's not just going to be an American issue. That's the other killer part of it. It's not just going to be an American issue. All right. Sorry that I sound wheezy. I can hear myself right now. This cough has like, I was sick a couple of weeks ago, and it just has not left me alone, man. Ooh, hold on. All right. So other joint, I'm not even gonna play this. Y'all know how I am about the playing the stuff, messes with the system. Um, I seen this, and it kind of it made me laugh just for like I said, like for how things was working back in the day. Back in the day, you was able to do a thing or two with getting Bitcoin through PayPal, and then PayPal was like, nah, we not messing with that, even though they was making money off of the transactions. It was what it was. And this is like after, because before that, and Blood could tell you about this, Crypto Blood could tell you about this, like where you used to have to like, all right, I'm gonna do the money order, and then you send it to this address place, and then the person has to send you the wallet address, and then you have to check it to see that they put it in. That's what they got Charlie Sherm on, because he was accepting USD. And what is that? US, what is that? US code something, USC something. Anywho, anytime you get in trouble with the federal government and it involves money, it's because you touched the USD. And so yeah, like this is what it was like back in the day. We don't got that stuff now. Like, oh man, like it's so frustrating to look at how much, I'm gonna use the word freedom loosely. I'm gonna use it loosely in this particular story, in this post. And that like you was able to do this back when, this is 2010. Like 2010. This is what you could do with PayPal back in the day. And nowadays, it don't work the same way anymore. Right? Plus, on top of it, they telling on you to the IRS. Like they telling on you to all of them is telling on you to the IRS. Cash App, PayPal, Robinhood, they all telling on you to the IRS, right? But it's just one of those, like, you look back and you see, like, quote, how far the space has come, because now you have, quote, a PayPal wallet for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And you know what? Probably with another 12 months, maybe 15 months, they're gonna add a couple of the other tokens on. I don't know which ones. I don't pay enough attention to it like that. But like you see the trajectory / the writing on the wall, and you know at some point they're gonna, well, actually technically they already have their own stable coin, and I'm gonna get into that story in a minute. They already got their own stable coin, but I imagine that they're going to add the other stable coins like Circle and Tether into the mix too, because arguably the market is going to demand it. The user base is going to demand it because Tether and Circle are bigger and more well known and trusted in comparison to PayPal. And we can get into that story on how PayPal just like did a major. Oh, matter of fact, bam, here we go. All right. So, so it goes PayPal mints 300 trillion dollars worth of, on ETH. But according to Paxos, this was an internal technical error. Paxos reported it mistakenly minted 300 trillion PYUSD and burnt the access PYUSD. Now, I probably should have what you call it, saved that other video that I actually seen, the initial one, because initially I seen this on LinkedIn. And then I was like, "What? PayPal mints a 300 trillion? Like what? That's wild." So we out here doing what the U.S. government does now. We out here trying to be like the Treasury. Oh man, y'all are wilding. Like that's. I had a whole thing in my head, but so then I'm like, you know what? Let me go look for this on Twitter. I go into Twitter, and this was like a couple of the different things that I saw. What more gets me is the thing that I've seen, the post that I've seen on LinkedIn doesn't mention Paxo. So when you just see that post, you think, oh, well, you know, PayPal did this dumb move. They're not experts, they're newbies, relatively speaking, to this crypto thing, right? But when you actually dig into it, then you learn about Paxos. And I was like, wait. Somebody at Paxos messed up. So the issue was they messed up and minted 300 million, but then they sent it to a null address, meaning they burned it. The way this is actually reading, it isn't telling you the at least for how I understand it from the other like clips and videos that I've watched, it's misleading what's going on here. It's misleading in that they're making it sound like there was only one mistake. They're making it also sound like it was at least over on the LinkedIn side, it's a PayPal issue versus it's a Paxos issue, because it was Paxos that was minting the stable coin for, well, they're saying that they were trying to do an internal transaction. They minted 300 million to send from one of their internal wallets to another internal wallet, but someone messed up, which I don't even understand how that worked out when you have a whole copy and paste thing that, like, all right, that's the address, boom, that's the one for the, like, explain to me how you picked the burn wallet address to add in as where the endpoint is for the transaction. Like, explain that part to me. But we're not going to get that explanation, which is why this doesn't make sense to me. Paxos has been in this space too long to make this kind of beginner mistake. That's at least my take on it. I think Paxos has been in this space too long to make this type of beginner mistake. And I would imagine, because remember, for as much issue as we had from like the 2018 period into like 2022 of companies and individuals sending funds to the wrong address. Not a burn address, just the wrong address of it went to somebody's stuff. And they're like, oh, well, unless the person is cool enough to send it back to you, that's done. That's gone. That's theirs now. But you talking about you sent it to a burn address? I need somebody to explain to me what is your actual procedure for how you do transactions internally. Because again, to me, this is something that I could see happening if it was actually like PayPal, because y'all are still hiring on the people to like really understand and like deal with the stablecoin crypto side stuff. Like, you haven't been in this as long as Paxos folks have. And I would hope that this wasn't the intern who they let like, hey, John, go transfer blah, blah, blah over to this and this account. Unless I'm missing something, it sounds to me like they're not telling the whole truth of the story. Because it you know what? I got somebody I would ask about this. Because it's like, all right, you went on the computer and then you were like, okay, we're going to take this address here with blah, blah, blah amount in it. And then we're going to copy and paste the ad. And they have to have like, I want to say like a secure list of like, here's our internal wallets. Here's the public wallets. These are the internal wallets, which should be a separate list than the burn addresses, right? Like, am I wrong? Am I wrong in that understanding of the burn address wallets should be a separate list from the internal wallets that you're using within your smart contracts? Am I wrong about that? I don't think I'm wrong about that. But if y'all say I'm wrong, then explain why. I would appreciate. But yeah, this story don't make sense to me. I feel like there's something else that is going on in this situation, but they're just going with, oh, somebody fat fingered. How you fat fingered in a copy and paste? What? And arguably, because they're not going to give up somebody, like, unless somebody, if the money was, quote, like, let's say the money went to somebody's wallet and they were like, oh, like that person stole $1 million, then they would give somebody up. But like in this scenario, excuse me, they're not going to give anybody up. This is just one of those, we fat fingered it, but everything is cool now. So like apparently, if you were looking at the PayPal token, which is their stable coin, all of a sudden you seen like the price value, like I think shoot up for like 20 minutes. And then, which is wild to me, that it took 20 minutes to realize you made this mistake. Because here's the issue. They did the 300 million, sent it to the burn address, tried to fix the issue, and then accidentally added too many zeros in and then put that live. So then they had to go back and be like, all right, whoa, we got to take off a couple of those milk. Like, I don't know. In my mind, it just sounds like that's too basic of a mistake for Paxos of all the platforms in the space to be making. But somebody can tell me I'm wrong. All right. Also seen this. I didn't actually read into the comments on it. So SEC Chair Paul Atkins says the U.S. is a decade behind on crypto, and catching up is job one for the agency. Which then means what? Like, how does us playing the catch-up game look? In my mind, there's two approaches to this objective, right? One of it is we'll go back to the companies that are that, like, the past administration did some dirty business to, and we will review what their product and service was, how the tokens and stuff played into it, like what was the verdict that we ended up with, and then it's like, okay, what they're doing, does this make us look better in the space? Does this have what's the word I'm looking for? Does it have legs? Like, can something be done with this if we let them, come back in? And so that's kind of my thought on like the what they're gonna end up doing, because in my mind, there has been a slow walking back of the companies that the SEC had targeted under Gary Gensler. It's very slow, but it's happening. It's been happening, and like you don't really see any what's the word I'm looking for? Any like big coverage about it. It'll be just that one little like, oh yeah, blah 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 happened. The SEC said such and such with this company, but they're also picking and choosing the particular companies to be like, all right, are they going to be cool to be on like the good list? Are they going to, you know what I'm saying, toe the line with us about how we want crypto to move going forward? And so that's the part that gets me about who's going to get to be in the club versus who's going to still be on the outskirts. Case in point, Reggie Middleton. That's at least how I'm seeing it. I could be kind of wrong, but I don't think I am. I honestly do not think I am wrong in how I'm assessing the situation of what the SEC is going to end up doing to quote like get the US back on track, or like in a better place. Like, I was thinking about this earlier today cuz I was listening to something. I forgot what I was listening to, but it just made me think like, even though we are talking about, and when I say we, I mean the administration. I don't mean like we as the everyday person, right? I mean we as the administration. Even though there is a big um push or talk about, well, America needs to be the number one in technology. We need to be the number one in crypto. We need to be the number one in production. We need to be the number one, blah, 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 right? At least for how I understand how you have to build an industry and then do the vertical development, whether it is a product or a service, is not something that happens within a 4-year window. This is at least my understanding. And so, with that understanding and that frame of reference, I think more of what's going on, which I'm going to get into the second path about this whole thing with the SEC, and for how I see what we're doing. And again, when I say we, I mean the administration. We're not fighting to be number one. Like, the number one narrative sounds cool, right? Because everything is always about being number one, at least for like how we argue these things, as far as it's a winner take all mentality. It cannot be there's a number two, right? It has to be, we can only be number one. And so I see how that message is being pushed out into the public of, we have to be number one. We have to dominate this thing. We have to da 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 da. It's a quote, us versus them, right? Winner take all. But we're not doing things that would make us or allow us as the American government slash American as a country, for like the industries and stuff. We're not doing the things that would allow us to be dominant, to be the number one, to be the top dog. Which then makes me think, even though we're promoting this is about being number one, what's really playing out is This is just really about us maintaining a relevant position in the space. And when I say the space, I mean in general across the board in whatever industry it is you want to talk about. Whether you want to talk about the financial markets, the service market, the chip market, the production of like the car market, the financial banking market, like whatever market you're talking about, whatever vertical, right? Whatever industry, I think that the bigger folks or the folks higher up the value chain recognize that in practical terms, for what is being done now and for where we look in this, where we sit in this whole geopolitical thing, economic thing, being number one is not it. But we can't tell the public, hey, we at least trying to shoot to be number 2 or 3. Like no one says that, because that's not the that doesn't give the warm and fuzzies to your public. That doesn't give the warm and fuzzies to the people who have like the money or the resources to make things happen at the bigger scale, right? So like, even though that's the reality and it's the unspoken secret, we still gonna spit it as, oh, this is about being number one. This is about being the dominant player. This is about keeping the hegemony. And I've been saying this for a bit. It's just like, yo, like this ain't 1990s, dog. This ain't the 2000s. Like America, at least for again how I'm understanding things, we're not in the 1990s or the 2000s. So we can't be going out here moving like we was moving back then, because it's not the same geopolitical landscape. And so to the point with this SEC story about, you know, that's the number one job right now. It's like, oh, really? Is it though? Or is it that we're just trying to do things that would at least keep us relevant to the industry slash market? So the other path that we would go for, aside from like going back through and seeing the companies and the personalities that the SEC and other financial departments, like, and including the DOJ, really smitten and smited and like did things that brought them a ton of legal woes, as well as destroying the businesses. The other thing would be, all right, we're gonna do things that are under the veil. We're not even going to call it this, but it will be under the umbrella of protectionism. So you'll have more protectionist policies, protectionist regulation, right? Case in point, I was listening to Eli, the computer guy, early today, and lately, man, his rants they're truthful, but they're funny. But man, sometimes he be going off the rails, man. Oh, so but nonetheless, so he brings up a point about how there was a period within the car industry, within the American car industry, where we went on this whole thing about how Americans don't want foreigner cars. Americans don't want, and when I say foreigner, I mean Americans don't want low cost, cheap foreigner cars, in particular the stuff that comes out of China, even though X amount of our vehicles are made there. But we're specifically talking about the lower end market for like economy size vehicles. This is what the American industry was telling the public. Americans don't want those. They want big trucks. America is all about F-150s. And let me not like beat F-150s too much, because I have my own Yeehaw truck, right? It's a 1990 joint. But it's not the new shit, right? But nonetheless, this is what they're saying to the public. America doesn't want those foreign mini cheap, messed up cars. They're cheap cars. They won't last, blah, blah, blah. China moves into making more, not professional, but more, let's say durable, more engineered, reliable vehicles, right? So now, then it gets into, well, and this is the thing that gets me about like the way we argue free market or open market here in the States. Like, we're cool with free market and open market things when we have the upper hand. Hence why you have the whole thing of like protectionist policies and regulations around certain markets and industries, right? But when you put things on a level playing field and we start to lose, we will come up with everything under the sun to be like, yo, nah, dog, you can't do that. Nah, man. Like we run the gambit. And so he was making the point of like, that's what the American car manufacturing industry was doing in that they were making, because I'm not saying we all, but most of us have heard of what is it, the damn design concept where like the thing is meant to break, right? So here you have it that China is getting better at making more reliable, durable vehicles at low cost price. They get into the EV thing. American manufacturing industry is like, hey, Americans don't want those. They want big trucks. They want more expensive cars. They want more new with fancier cars. But if we just had let the chintzy Chinese unreliable cars come into the American market, people would have bought them, been turned off, and then went back to the American vehicles, and then the market would have spoken for itself. But that's not what we did. The industry lobbied and bitched and moaned about, don't let those cheap cars come over here. We'll just stick with the whole thing of more expensive, newer cars, lease cars, finance cars, bigger trucks. We get into the EV thing. Well, no, you can't let the EVs come in because they're higher quality vehicles, but they sell cheaper than what we sell these trucks for. But you can't have it both ways. Either the EV cars that come out of China, aka BYD, is an example of the major one right now, which I hear is like all over in certain parts of Africa. Case in point, Central African Republic and a couple other places. And they're definitely moving around in Eastern Europe and in Russia. If it's a matter of those folks can only make chintzy, unreliable vehicles, why are they killing the sales globally though? If it's a matter of those are chintzy, unreliable vehicles, what happens when you let that into the market and then you let the public decide, oh, are these really crappy cars? Ah, that's why the price is so low. It's a crappy car. We're going to do the same thing in this crypto space as we get more and more regulation in the American market in particular. And it's going to be on the same premise of, oh, you can't let the over there outside company, person, entity, whatever, come over here. Because again, I would argue history continually shows us the American mercantile class is only cool with open and free markets when we have the advantage over the other competitor. We don't like being on a level playing field. That's my take on it. I could be wrong. Somebody might know something in history that, goes counter to that thing of, if we actually let the free open market, like public, decide, word in Barbados already? Huh, okay. Decide on like, do we like this product or service? Is it at a reasonable price point? Bet I'll use it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the part that gets me. And again, for what I'm thinking and how I'm seeing it, the SEC is going to do the same thing. It's going to be like a one hand's going to be doing this, the other hand's going to be doing that. They're going to let some of the folks that they messed up back in the space, and they're going to be heavy in promoting American adjacent or American connected stablecoin projects. Just my take. Just my take. All right, let's jump up to this next joint because I was beating some of these too long. Oh, all right. I'm going on this one because I've been on this for a minute now. I've been saying this for a while in terms of and me and 3D used to talk about this a lot when we were doing the other spaces thing. So apparently Denmark just actually put into play that oh wow, that's wild. Okay. Not wild like, oh, that's a crazy, like that shouldn't happen thing, but like, oh wow, that's actually interesting that they went that far. Um but where I'm going with this, and like, hey, what up crypto society? BTC. Um so this apparently just happened in Denmark as far as like the whole digital sovereignty, or more of cyber sovereignty in relation to the person. And I've been arguing about this for like a while now, as far as what you have happening, at least here in the West. And when I say West, I'm talking about generally speaking about Europe and like the US and stuff, in that the companies are getting the rights over the individual person, in terms of like the sovereignty aspect of whose data is this, who controls what, who has ownership. Granted, arguably you would go, well, it's my picture of me, why would I not have right over the image of me, my voice, my likeness, my face, my body, right? And I'm not even running down that whole rabbit hole about like God given, just the whole thing of just plain simple thing of, I am human, I am a person, I am an individual. These things are part of my being. Why would I not have agency over them? But that's not the direction that most of the West is going in. And I seen this and I was like, wow, that's interesting. I'm curious to see how does this work um in parallel to how the EU, because you have the EU as like the collective representation for each one of the different European countries, versus what Denmark is saying by themselves, right? I think they say now like England, London in particular, the city of London has like either 2 cameras or like 1.5 cameras per citizen. I'm probably saying that wrong. From what I understand, there's more CCTV cameras in London than there are people in the population of the city. So like, who has authority over all of those images that are collected? And that's been for years now. Years. The other thing to note about this is it also made me wonder, is there any like, did anybody think forward on like, all right, because obviously the digital ID thing is going to be a part of this question. The EU is 100% pushing digital ID, right? Which then also plays into the whole thing about your money and like the digital money thing. The digital ID is going to be tracked, no, connected to your ability to use money, or like being able to have quote money. Um so like, it makes me wonder, how is this really gonna hold up? Especially with the EU saying no, we're 100% running or going along with digital ID. We're 100% going along with like, because what is it? Totally not related to EU, but like Thailand just implemented their thing about the digital ID. And they're connecting it into phones. So like burner phones apparently are going to be mute as a thing because of how they're connecting. Oh, I forget what part of the phone that they're like going down to, like something in the hardware. So like, this is how it's all connected, which then goes, well, how does that work for tourists who are only there for like a week, 2 days? Like, how does that work for your non-citizen people? You see what I'm saying? It's going to be a hodgepodge of, and I've said this before, it's going to be a hodgepodge of different sovereignties and sovereignties slash like countries going like, all right, well, this is the direction we going in, and it's like, oh, this is the direction we going in, and then you have like this collective block here, like, well, we're all agreeing to do this. Whose sovereignty, as far as like that nation state, whose thing holds up? Okay, that's interesting. I didn't. So this particular comment is in relation to the cameras thing, which that also makes sense too. But their cameras have what's the thing? The IoT stuff in it for how it works for being able to identify people by like their walk and their height and like the geometry of facial feature stuff. Yeah. I've heard on that part. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this play out. If this even holds up, as well as will it spread to other European countries? I don't know. I also wonder how this will work out in like the African countries and the Latin American countries too. Just a thought. Just a thought. Oh, so this was the other thing that was going on. Richard Hart being Richard Hart was one of the things I said over on the Twitter side. Um Wait, what was this one about? What got me about this? I forget at the moment, but I'll read it through and it'll probably click back to me. So Richard Hart post. Something was going on yesterday that Richard Hart was trending, and it was in part. So shout out to the Hex folks, the post chain folks, all of y'all. We'll see how this play out in terms of um the algos, because I was doing some hashtags for Hex and post chain. We'll see how this play out in the YouTube realm of it. I think I did the same thing on the Twitter side of it, but we'll see how it play out. Oh, also, shout outs to the team behind Grok AI, because they definitely got better at doing the image generation thing. So the thumbnail for this image on the YouTube side is a different one than on the Twitter side. And all I did was literally just put in some of the headlines that I had, that like I was from the post. So it was like Jack Dorsey says Bitcoin is money. PayPal burns millions of PYSUD, and I said some other stuff, and then I gave like cinematic sharp color something something, and then boom, that's what it printed out. And I'm like, okay, y'all doing better. I'm clap hands off to y'all, claps to y'all, the team of folks behind that. Now, granted, there's some funny shenanigans for how the business is layered and structured and how it connects to Twitter, but I'm just saying, technology wise, it has gotten better. Because I was literally complaining about this shit like, what is that, 3 maybe 4 months back? I think it might have been 3 or 4 months back. I was complaining about it, saying that it was like kind of garbage. But they're making some improvements. I'm still not feeling how the short clips work, but at least on the still image stuff, y'all doing better. I'll just say that. But anywho, jumping into this joint right here about excuse me. So Kevin Hart. So apparently he was trending heavily because he moved like some couple million worth of hex from one chain, from one wallet to the other. And folks, as you know, folks is always pocket watching on this crypto thing, man. Whether you a no name nobody and you got a lot of stuff in a wallet, somebody's tracking it and waiting to see when you move it. And so that's what he did. That's what kind of got me down a rabbit hole. And then I was kind of like looking through his account, and it's just like, wow, man, like you can never say that Richard Hart is dumb. Like, and the other irony of it is like he tells you flat out, like, nah, this is like how I'm looking at it. Like, this is why I do X, Y, and Z. Like, I was watching one of his clips where he was like, like, you want to make something valuable, you're gonna do one of two things. You're either going to make it scarce or you're going to do the marketing thing of where you have to bolster up the brand enough that like it sticks and it resonates with people, and that's how they're seeing like, oh, that's a value, because it's like, oh, that brand is so popular, like everyone knows about it. Or you're going to work the other way to make it a rarity, right? And so like he gave the example of the things that he had sitting around him, which was like some crazy ass collection of Rolexes. And then like what is that Louis Vuitton bear, which apparently is a sizable grip. It's a sizable, that's some people's salary. That joint is some people's salary. A matter of fact, let's look at something real quick. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious. There. Let's see. All right, that I don't think that's the one. Let me. No, this isn't the one. Yeah, I'm looking at a white one, which I don't think is the one. I guess his might be more custom or whatever, but this is under 1,500. And I'm not saying that's cheap for a teddy bear, but yeah, that's not the one. But nonetheless, jumping back over. I'm over here getting lost on sidetracks. So let's get into what he says. Okay, guys. Let me let you in on a secret. The people that actually make the most money in crypto aren't buyers and holders. It's Tether. And the rest of the world figured it out. So they're making infinite competitors. And guess what? One of these competitors will be a fair entity and let Joe Blow, normal, honest entity, make a stable with them. Then anyone can on-ramp instantly with dollars direct to chain. That pulse brings you that pulse that that plus bridges. Yo, the way he writes sometimes, bro. That plus bridges and you entirely and totally replace CSXs. The last remaining component of the CXS will be marketing. And when they nuke every chart they get their hands on, even that ain't worth much, if anything at all, really. This is why you see sexes starting chains as quick as they can, because they know they're doomed long term. The regulatory arbitrage and the gatekeeping for profit trades comes to an end. All right, so now I remember why. This goes to my point of what I was saying about stablecoins. There's going to be an explosion of stablecoins because the crypto side, basically, you can't make the gains that you was making back in the day, and I'll use that phrase loosely. And the stable coins is gonna be the next lick. That's the short of it. The stable coin is gonna be the next lick. So like whether you have whatever token or whatever what's the thing? Um whatever token, NFT or coin, like it doesn't work. His point is, it's like the example that they talk about with the gold mines, right? The person who really made out in the more secure sense was the Sears and Macy's that sold you the picks, axes, and shovels. You can go out there and do all of what you're doing with your stable coin, your NFT, your Bitcoin. Well, not Bitcoin, but Bitcoin too included to a degree. Your token, flipping, trading, doing yield farming, trying to do your arbitrage and all that. But at the end of the day, if you're on that side of it and you're back and forth and your middle person is your middle medium is always one of these. Not always, depending on what you're doing, but like the stable coin sits as that middle medium, and because it's quote pegged at a stable price point in comparison to the fluctuation that happens with the tokens, the coins, and the NFTs, that value amount is relatively held. You out here flipping, 1,000, 2,000, whatever coins worth a day. All right, well, you trying to not deal with not arbitrage. You trying to not have slippage for whatever market time you're doing your stuff, or like whatever markets you're moving around in. You're not trying to deal with crazy slippage, not to mention the transaction fees. And we all know Ethereum could get crazy for transaction fees. Bitcoin also could get crazy for transaction fees, right? And then they talk about the whole thing with like the dry powder, and if the price drops on stuff, and it's like, okay, well, at least you weren't sitting in that, you like sold high and then you jumped over into the stable coin, and now you waiting for it to drop, blah blah blah. I'm not a trader, y'all know this at this point. If you don't, I'm not a trader, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just some guy on the internet talking stuff that scratches my brain. And for what Richard Hart was talking about in this, it goes to the example of during the gold rush, who made the more steady, reliable amount of money, even though it was a boring business? The person who sold the axes, shovels, and clothes and boots versus the folks who were out there in rivers, mountains, and like tunnels trying to find little specks of gold. The odds were not necessarily in your favor, which is the same thing that's going on within this crypto market of it's a gamble. You don't know which thing is the surefire per se. It's just, markets, or at least I know markets go up, markets go down. I don't have the patience for the other stuff to be dealing with in it. That's just me though. No, that was for something else. Oh, yeah, that was another thing that he had put out that I was like, oh wow, okay. Again, there's nothing to say Richard Hart is a dumb person. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say Richard Hart is a dumb person. Granted, he be on his like, I'll talk above people, but I don't think there's anything that says he's a dumb person. He's been around for a while and he knows a lot. Oh, so this is another thing that he had brought out about how, I don't know what Durov is, but oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a thing, and I feel like there was an app that was on Apple that recently got taken off because they were telling people where ICE agents were, or like when they were coming into like job sites and stuff, which I still find crazy. I'm not going to run too deep on this, but like I find it crazy that when we talk about the whole like, oh, well, we have to get rid of these people, they're not getting rid of the folks who are just standing around being lazy and not working. They're going after the ones that are at jobs working. How does that make sense? But anywho, take that as you will. Remember I said that there was another post that was like related to what Jack said about Bitcoin being money. I seen this post, and shout out to Charlene. I know she's like making her ways around, and she's been on the road doing things. So post says, while some Bitcoiners debate knots, what's going on with the crypto knots and the Bitcoin core folks, whatever. There are political descendants using Bitcoin as a lifeline for financial freedom. Refugees preserving their wealth and rebuilding their lives in safer countries with Bitcoin. Global merchants saving thousands in credit card transaction fees by merging Bitcoin as real money. So when I say some of us have lost the plot, please believe me. So I'm gonna close out on this one. And what this made me think of, right, is that, and this is the part that gets it with the whole like Bitcoin versus crypto being the other. And I'm going to still hold to this thing, even though sometimes it might bite me in the ass. You can't tell people how to do their crypto stuff. Like, if it's about economic sovereignty, if it's about financial sovereignty and having agency over your financial instrument, hey, Bitcoin works for your case. Cool. Great. But I remember when there was the whole push of like Bitcoin is everywhere. Bitcoin is usable in this, that, and third situation. But like, I remember what's his name? I cannot remember his name right now, but he does a lot of work down in like Mexico and like down in it wasn't Argentina. It was Peru? I can't remember the country right now. But like Dash, like how many folks remember Dash? Dash was huge down there. Why? Because it was way cheaper to send $1,000, $500 worth of Dash than it was to send Bitcoin, and it went way faster. Like this is the thing that I said in the beginning part of like, you had the element or the parts of the Bitcoin community where it's the people who are using it as a storage thing. It was the people who are using it as that part of their trading instruments, financial instruments in regards to moving in and out positions. You had the folks who were just on the I'm hodling, holding on for dear life. And then you had the folks who were really moving around the space and using other coins to do the things that they needed to do in life. But no one talks about that because the the bigger, louder narrative is it's either about it's either about Bitcoin, and if you do any of the other cryptos, oh, you're just a trader. You're just you're just an investor, right? We give it that Western bravado, that Western like, oh, well, if you're in crypto, you're a trader, you're an investor, versus the technology works for whatever the situation is that you need it to do. That's my takeaway for the night. In terms of this whole thing of cryptocurrencies, and I'm including Bitcoin in that bigger umbrella term, this American point of view and hubrisness for how we talk about cryptocurrencies and like what the use case is, I think has gone very left. And as Charlene makes the point of, folks have lost the plot. The idea starting off with the Bitcoin is about economic sovereignty and financial agency. But in the broader context of this thing, the technology, whether it be in the brand of Bitcoin or in the brand of a stablecoin or in the brand of a token or in the brand of an NFT as a financial instrument, in my mind, I can't tell you how to crypto. You have your situation. Is it that you need a faster transaction? Is it that you need a cheaper transaction? Is it that you need multiple feature functionality within how that digital monetary amount can be moved around, split, divided, hence the smart contracts, hence EVM ecosystem? Like, that's the thing that gets me when I take myself outside of this like American environment, this Western environment. And like, I remember when we started getting into this whole thing of using more traditional financial phrases like, oh, they're an investor. Oh, and y'all hear me use the phrase financial instrument all the time. But I use that phrase for a particular reason. The short of it, y'all, and I'll close with this, is that like we've definitely come a ways. And I think that we are repeating certain lessons, but in different phases of the overall adoption. The medium that I think is going to be this next phase is the stablecoin phase. And with that, I think that we have moved a ways from accepting or understanding like the financial agency that the technology does allow, but it's getting kind of drowned out. Because again, as I said, the newer folks in the space, mad folks ain't read the white paper, don't even know what it is. Most folks came in a whole different way. Like I remember, again, when I heard people saying like how they got into crypto was XRP, blew my mind. But it's a thing. Then you got folks who got into stuff that I ain't never even heard of because I don't pay attention like that to this new stuff. I just kind of sit back and watch certain things, and that's where I'm at. We out here promoting the like. So here's the other like connect the real thing, and then I'm done. We're talking about being an investor. You hear people talk about the whole like building financial wealth, and this is like, yeah, but building generational wealth includes economic sovereignty and financial agency, but that's not a part of the conversation no more. And I think that's the part that frustrates me as I see it more and more, in that the aspect of financial agency and economic sovereignty is being washed away / separated, negated from what it means when you say I'm building generational wealth. All right, so you building on the same rails and system that was screwing you over for generations before you? Really? How much sense that make? I don't know. But I'll leave it there. I'll throw that one out to y'all. It's a Monday. Getting a little bit time-wise, I could have did better, but it is what it is right now. Nonetheless, y'all, like I said, it's a Monday. Hopefully y'all had a good productive day. For my federales out there, hopefully this joint don't go into the long one we had, which was like 35 days, because I know the bills is billing. Like folks got to eat food. It's getting kind of rough out here. Yeah, life is lifing out here, man, and I'm just sending positive vibe out to folks. If you hear the voice, if you see the stream, if I know you personally, haven't spoken to you in a minute, sending positive vibes to you, because I be hearing some of the most wowest stories, and all I can do sometimes is just sit and listen. So yeah, as I say, you funny, man. From one human to the next, the best thing that I can wish y'all is to be in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah. Other than that, y'all, I will catch y'all next Monday, and we go from there. All right. Let me just type out this last joint. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Thanks. I totally. You know when you be typing too fast and then you be clicking extra buttons? Like I clicked the what'd you call it? All right. So we ouch. Yeah, that's all I got. Buenos noches, folks. I'm Trek with 2 Ks.